Single mom's heartwarming date revealed an incredible surprise that changed everything forever. In the quiet suburb of Ohio, one single mother's ordinary life was about to take an extraordinary turn. Sarah, a 34-year-old waitress known for her warm smile at the local diner, juggled long shifts and the chaos of raising Emma and Jake, her two vibrant children. Despite the community's tight-knit atmosphere, it carried the weight of judgment that often left her feeling isolated. After the tragic passing of her husband, dreams of opening a bakery danced in her mind like the sweet aroma of fresh pastries. Yet every time she envisioned that future, doubts crept in like shadows, whispering that she'd never measure up. One evening, as candles flickered on the table, Emma and Jake exchanged hushed giggles and determined nods. They wanted nothing more than to see their mother smile again. So, they set a plan in motion: a blind date for Sarah. The thought made Sarah's heart race, anxiety mixed with the hope of rediscovering joy. It had been years since she allowed herself to think of romance. But in the end, she found herself sitting on a park bench, nervously fidgeting with her hands, when Jake, a warm-hearted veteran, approached. Their conversation began with light-hearted banter, the kind that comes easy when shared laughter fills the air. As the leaves whispered overhead, Sarah felt herself slowly unwind. Jake spoke of his dreams and struggles, and for the first time in ages, she found herself sharing pieces of her heart: her love for baking, her children, the sweetness and bitterness of loss. In that park, amidst all their hopes and heartaches, something beautiful flickered between them, igniting the possibility of a new beginning. Yet just as delight danced on the edge of her heart, reality crashed in. Sarah's phone buzzed with an urgent call. Her youngest had fallen at the playground. Rushing to the hospital, fear gripped her like a vice. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled her lungs as she paced the waiting room, each tick of the clock echoing her uncertainty. In that moment, an earthquake of emotions shook her very core. The dreams of tomorrow felt so distant, juxtaposed with the whirlpool of panic around her. But just as despair threatened to engulf her, the very community that had been both a lifeline and a source of pressure stepped in. Neighbors rallied, bringing meals, sitting with Emma, and offering whatever financial help they could muster. Their kindness felt like a warm blanket in her storm. As Sarah navigated this whirlwind, she realized Jake had been a steady beacon through it all. He helped her with the kids, providing comfort where she had none. But as the dust began to settle, an unexpected truth surfaced. Jake shared a connection with her late husband, one that challenged everything she thought she knew about love, grief, and moving on. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Sarah faced this revelation, emotions swirled within her like a tempest. Could she trust again? Was it possible to embrace hope amidst the weights of her past? Torn between what was familiar and what lay ahead, she stood at a crossroads, the love of her children grounding her and the intrigue of rediscovered love tempting her further. Would she find the courage to rise from the ashes, not just for herself, but for Jake, too? The answers beckoned just beyond her reach, igniting a burning desire to fight for her dreams, whatever they might hold. The urgency of the hospital's fluorescent lights felt almost suffocating as Sarah stood in the waiting room, her heart racing with every second ticking by. Emma was inside, likely frightened and in pain. The thought made a knot tighten in her stomach. Beside her, Jake was a comforting presence, silently offering support. His mere existence felt reassuring, yet the revelation about his connection to her late husband loomed ominously in her mind. "Do you need some water?" Jake asked, breaking the silence that had settled uncomfortably around them. "No, I am all right," Sarah replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She appreciated his concern, but the uncertainty of their relationship surged like a wave crashing against the shore of her heart. Moments stretched into eternity, and just when Sarah felt she might crumble under the weight of her worry, the emergency room doors swung open. A doctor emerged, his expression kind but serious. Sarah held her breath, her hands clenching tightly. "Your daughter's going to be fine, but she might need stitches," the doctor stated, relief flooding back to Sarah's veins like cool water. "We'll keep her for observation overnight. You can see her shortly." "Thank you," Sarah exclaimed, bursting with gratitude. Tears brimmed in her eyes, both from worry and profound relief. She glanced at Jake, who mirrored her sigh of relief, but tension still lingered in the air, the unspoken words weighing heavily between them. As they walked towards Emma's room, Sarah couldn't resist the urge to ask, What do we do about what you told me?" Her voice trembled, vulnerability creeping in. Jake turned to her, his expression soft. "I didn't come here to replace anyone, Sarah. I just want to be a part of your life if you give me that chance." His direct gaze made her stomach flutter and her heart race. Could she really open herself up to someone who had a history with her husband? Just then, as they entered the room, Sarah's tremulous emotions swiftly shifted to focus on Emma, who was curled up in a hospital bed, clutching a stuffed bear with wide, curious eyes. "Mommy!" she squeaked, a small smile breaking through her worried face. "Oh, sweetie. You scared me." Sarah rushed to her side, wrapping her arms around Emma, burying her face in her daughter's hair, inhaling that familiar scent, the scent of home, love, and innocence. Jake stood back, giving them space, yet Sarah could feel his eyes on her, that warmth radiating. It was so comforting, but it also muddled her thoughts. Emma reached for Jake, recognition sparking behind her blue eyes. "Hi, mister," she said shyly. "Did you bring me cookies?" Jake chuckled, breaking the momentary tension. "Only if you promise to eat them together with your mom when you get home. Deal?" "Deal." Emma grinned, her spirit shining through the hospital gloom. A spark ignited within Sarah as she watched their easy connection. For the first time, she was reminded of the possibility of happiness, of laughter shared within these four walls. But the weight of secrets was still heavy on her heart. Could she truly allow herself to see Jake, to explore these new feelings brewing under the surface? As she tucked Emma in, Sarah cast a quick glance at Jake, who was watching them with a knowing smile. Questions loomed in the depths of her heart, swirling with unanswerable possibilities. They had crossed paths in this chaotic moment, but would the threads of their connection withstand the tests ahead? Suddenly, her phone buzzed again, pulling her from her thoughts. A message flickered on the screen, an invitation to a community bake sale. The event promised a gathering of familiar faces, the same friendly folks who had weathered storms with her. But what if Jake came along? How would her community react, knowing the shared ties that linked them? The thought both excited and terrified her. "Mommy? When can we go home?" Emma's small voice broke through her reverie, and Sarah knew she had a choice to make about her future, about love, and the ties that bound them all. With uncertainty flickering like a candle in her chest, she straightened her spine. Could she face this challenge head-on? Would she find the courage to step into the light and embrace the unknown with hope? The answer felt both exhilarating and nerve-wracking. As her heart beat quicker, it became clear that every step forward carried the weight of possibility and perhaps, just perhaps, a second chance at love. The next few hours passed in a blur of medical checks and reassurances from nurses who had a way of making even the most dire situations feel manageable. Emma's laughter echoed in the small hospital room each time someone came in to check on her, and it filled the space with warmth that seemed to melt away some of Sarah's anxieties. But as the excitement faded, Sarah's thoughts returned to Jake. Not only was he a comforting figure now, but he was also a living reminder of her past, a past that she had built her walls around because of the pain it had brought. Eventually, when Emma dozed off, her bear tucked securely under one arm, Sarah stepped out into the corridor, needing a moment to breathe. The air outside the room felt different, charged with new decisions and lingering doubts. Leaning against the wall, she closed her eyes for a moment, letting the chaos around her fade. "Hey," Jake's voice pulled her from her thoughts. He stood a few feet away, hands tucked in his pockets, studying her with those soft, expressive eyes. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, I didn't expect to feel so much pressure tonight. I want to think about what we talked about, but..." She glanced back towards Emma's room. Jake took a step closer. "It's a lot to process. You don't have to decide anything right now. Just being here for Emma is enough." She nodded, but there was a weight in her chest that felt unbearable. "I keep thinking about my old life. What it used to be like and what it means to move on, or even if I should. Moving on doesn't mean forgetting. You can hold on to your memories while still making new ones." His voice was steady, grounding her. She took a deep breath, feeling the air move through her lungs. "But how? How do I figure out my heart when it feels so divided?" Jake moved a little closer, the warmth of his presence both calming and unnerving. "You let yourself feel. The good and the scary. No pressure, just you and Emma. I want to be part of that if you'll let me, but it's okay if you're not ready." His openness stirred something in her. For a fleeting moment, she saw a life beyond the suffocating sorrow, one filled with laughter, connection, and maybe, just maybe, love again. But shadows of doubt clouded this vision. Tomorrow, there's that community bake sale. Maybe it would be a good start. If you're there, I mean, if the timing feels right. The thought had bubbled up unexpectedly, and she clung to it with both eagerness and fear. Jake smiled, a glimmer of hope brightening his features. "I'd love to go with you and Emma. I promise I won't overwhelm you." "Okay." The word came out softer than she expected, but it felt like a promise to herself to seize this chance. As they exchanged tentative smiles, a sudden commotion down the hallway interrupted their moment. A family was gathered, their voices rising in distress. Sarah's heart sank at the unmistakable blend of worry and despair. It reminded her just how precious life was and how fragile. She looked at Jake, a silent communication passing between them. "You know, I've never been good at the whole love thing," she admitted, her vulnerability lifting that heavy weight from her chest. He nodded, understanding in his gaze. "None of us really are, until we try." In the whirlwind of emotions, it suddenly struck her this was her chance not just to find moving forward with Jake but to step into the light with her daughter at her side. Maybe the bake sale wouldn't just be another day out, it could be a pivotal moment. "Let's make it a good one." She offered him a genuine smile, one that felt lighter than the ones she'd given in the past months. "Deal," Jake said, echoing Emma's words with a playful glint in his eye as they began to walk back into the room. Inside, Emma stirred, her eyes blinking open. "Are we going home soon?" she asked sleepily. "Soon, sweetheart. And guess what? We might have a fun adventure." As Emma's face lit up, Sarah could feel the familiar blend of joy and uncertainty intertwining in her chest. Would tomorrow truly be the beginning of something beautiful, or would it reveal old wounds she'd have to face again? Only time would tell, and suddenly, she couldn't wait to find out. The sun rose the next morning, spilling golden light into the small hospital room. Sarah stood by the window, her fingers brushing against the glass as she watched the world outside come to life. Birds flitted from branch to branch, and she could hear the distant hum of traffic. It was a beautiful day, a perfect day for a bake sale. "Mom?" Emma's voice broke through her thoughts, soft and sleepy. Sarah turned to see her daughter rubbing her eyes, her hair a tousled mess. The sight of Emma stirred a warmth in her heart, reminding her why today mattered so much. "Good morning, sweetheart. Are you ready for our adventure?" Emma nodded enthusiastically and pushed back the covers, her energy already returning. Together, they prepared to leave the hospital, each act filled with the hope of something new. Sarah fastened Emma's shoes, her fingers gently working the laces. "You look so pretty today," she said, watching Emma's smile grow wider by the second. As they waited for Jake in the hospital lobby, Sarah fidgeted with her hands. What would it be like to face the day with him by her side? What if old ghosts haunted her happiness? Only time would tell. The sound of footsteps brought her attention back. There he was, Jake, looking genuinely happy and almost boyish with a brightly colored box tucked under his arm. "Hey there, ready to bake some memories?" He grinned. "Is that for us?" Emma's eyes widened, sparkling with excitement. "Absolutely. I thought we could make some cupcakes together. What do you think?" "Yes. I love cupcakes," Emma exclaimed, and Sarah couldn't help but join in her daughter's delight. The drive to the community center was lively, filled with laughter and light-hearted chatter. Sarah found herself more at ease than she anticipated. Jake put on a goofy voice, pretending to be a cupcake master chef, and Emma burst out laughing, her laughter infectious and pure. By the time they arrived, the bake sale was already bustling, a tapestry of colors and smiling faces. The scent of baked goods filled the air, wrapping around them as they stepped out of the car. Emma took Jake's hand, her small fingers dwarfed in his, and Sarah's heart swelled with warmth. "Let us grab a table," Jake suggested, and they made their way to a spot under a big oak tree, its branches swaying gently in the afternoon breeze. They set up the supplies, and Sarah felt a rush of excitement bubbling through her. As they began baking, the atmosphere turned into a whirlwind of flour, icing, and laughter. Emma busily decorated the cupcakes, her tiny fingers leaving trails of frosting everywhere, and Sarah couldn't hold back her laughter, watching Jake playfully squirt icing at her. She felt a sense of normalcy, something she hadn't realized how much she missed. But amidst the joy, a small twinge of anxiety poked at her, the fear of losing this moment, of letting her past hold her back. She couldn't let the ghosts win today. Later, as they admired their creation, Jake leaned closer to her. "You know, I can see how happy Emma is. It's making me really happy too." His eyes locked onto hers, and for a moment, Sarah felt the possibility of something more blooming between them. Just then, a loud cheer erupted from the crowd nearby, and they turned to see their community gathered. "Look at that," Jake said, motioning toward a small stage set up in the center. "I think they're announcing the cupcake winners. Let us check it out." As they walked toward the cheers, Sarah's pulse quickened. What if they won? What if they didn't? She felt both excitement and dread intertwining. "You know, whatever happens, this is a good day," Jake said, as if reading her mind. But what she didn't expect was to hear the announcer call out, "And our winner for the best cupcake goes to Sarah and Emma." The crowd erupted into applause, and Sarah's breath caught in her throat. What did this mean for them? As they made their way to the front, her heart raced. Today, perhaps, would mark the turning point she desperately needed if only she could embrace it fully. Standing on that stage, with Jake and Emma cheering at her side, she could feel a spark of hope igniting within her. Maybe moving forward wasn't just about facing the past, it was also about embracing all the good that still lay ahead. But just as they stepped off the stage, a familiar face from her past unexpectedly emerged from the crowd. Would this be another challenge for Sarah, or a chance to finally lay old fears to rest? Sarah's heart lurched as she recognized the face breaking through the crowd. It was Mark, the man she once thought she'd spend her life with, standing at the edge of the gathering. His presence swept over her like a chill, stark against the warmth of the recent celebration. Flashes of memories danced in her mind, the laughter they shared, the dreams they painted together. But those memories were tinged with the pain of loss. "Mom?" Emma tugged at her sleeve, a frown creasing her little brow. Who's that? That's just someone from a long time ago, Sarah replied, forcing a smile that felt more fragile than porcelain. She could feel Jake's confusion beside her, his eyes flickering between her and Mark. Mark stepped towards them, his features softening into a smile that had once charmed her. Hey, Sarah. I didn't expect to see you here. Emma looks so grown up, he said, his voice warm, but it held an undertone of uncertainty. Yeah, Sarah's voice trailed off, her thoughts spinning. She could either let old wounds resurface or choose to navigate this moment with grace. She's really excited about the bake sale. Congratulations on the win. Mark had always been supportive, but today felt different. The atmosphere buzzed with an unspoken tension, as if the crowd sensed something profound unfolding. Thanks, she managed, barely meeting his eyes. Jake shifted a bit closer, grounding her. We had a lot of fun baking. It was a blast, he cut in, looking determined to break the awkwardness. Mark's gaze flitted to Jake, a glance filled with curiosity. Oh, you're? Jake, he extended a hand, and they exchanged pleasantries. While they spoke, Sarah focused on Emma, who was now jumping up and down, pointing at the colorful cupcakes they had created. But her mind kept wandering back to Mark. It was hard to ignore the weight of shared history. Do you still live around here? Sarah asked, attempting to keep the conversation light. Yeah, just a few blocks away, Mark replied, and Sarah noticed a flicker of hope in his expression, as if he wanted to say more, but didn't know how. Suddenly, the energy shifted in the air, and Emma's squeals brought her back to the present. Can I go look at the other cupcakes, Mom? Sure, sweetheart, just stay close. As Emma dashed off toward the colorful stall, Jake stepped back a bit, sensing the tension. He leaned in, whispering. Are you okay? You don't have to talk to him if you don't want to. I know, Sarah sighed. It's just the past can be hard to shake off sometimes. At that moment, Mark edged a bit closer, glancing at Emma. She has your passion for baking. It's wonderful to see you both happy. Sarah hesitated, caught between the past and her present. We're trying to make the best of things, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Just then, a burst of laughter erupted from behind them. Emma had thrown her hands in the air, decorated with icing, grinning broadly as she presented several cupcakes to a group of admiring children. Mark's expression softened even more. You've raised a remarkable daughter, Sarah. Sarah's heart warmed, and perhaps it was the moment's magic, or simply the triumph of winning, but she felt a hint of nostalgia weave through her. Could they have found a way to be happy together if things had gone differently? But just as she contemplated this question, the cheerful chatter around them faded slightly. The announcement that followed made her stomach twist. A local couple emerging from the crowd, holding an engagement ring and beaming. Will you marry me? A man knelt, and cheers erupted. In the midst of that joyous moment, Sarah turned back to Mark. Their eyes locked, and she suddenly realized everything had changed. Sarah, he said gently, breaking through her thoughts, maybe we can talk later? I didn't mean to just drop in out of nowhere. She hesitated, emotions swirling in her chest. Could they really have a conversation that mattered after all this time? Before she could respond, a hand clasped her shoulder from behind. Jake, steady and kind, pulled her back to the moment. What do you think? Seeing Emma beaming, lost in her cupcake world, Sarah felt her feet plant firmly on the ground. It was time to step forward, not back. Let us see what Emma's up to, she replied, feeling that spark of hope transform into determination. But then, a shiver crept down her spine as she turned to walk away. Would Mark pursue her? Did he want to rekindle what they once shared? And why was she hesitating anyway? The day had held so much promise, but with Mark's reappearance, everything felt suddenly uncertain. What path would she choose to walk down next? The familiar or the unknown? Just ahead, Emma continued to showcase her cupcake creations to the crowd, unaware of the complexities lurking around her mother. Sarah felt a mixture of dread and excitement. Could she summon the courage to embrace what was truly ahead? As the laughter and chatter filled the air, she breathed in deeply, looking back at Mark one last time. Whatever choice lay beyond this moment, it felt like the dawn of a new chapter. But would she be ready to turn the page? Sarah watched Emma bounce from one group of kids to another, her joy radiating like sunlight. The bright colors of the cupcakes were a lively backdrop to her daughter's laughter, and for a moment, Sarah felt almost at peace. Yet, just a breath away was the specter of Mark, who stood rooted in the crowd, his eyes flicking back and forth between Sarah and their daughter. The thrill of the baking contest felt like a long-ago victory compared to the battle for her heart still raging inside her. "Did you mean what you said, about talking later?" she murmured to Jake, her heart thudding against her ribs. He raised an eyebrow, his face a mix of concern and encouragement. "If you feel like you need to, yeah. I mean, it's your call." His words stirred a storm of emotions inside her. Did she really want to revisit all those memories, the love that once filled her days, but had turned sour? With an uncomfortable knot in her stomach, Sarah took a deep breath and glanced at Mark once more. He stood there, hands shoved deep into his pockets, shifting slightly from foot to foot. Part of her wanted to run. Daggers of longing laced with confusion stabbed at her heart, another part yearned for clarity. "Can you watch Emma for a minute?" she asked Jake, almost on instinct. I need to talk to him." Jake didn't miss a beat. "Of course. Just be careful, okay?" His voice was low, but his concern enveloped her like a warm blanket. Sarah approached Mark, pulling in the scent of sweet frosting that hung in the air. "Hi," she said, unsure of how to start off. "Hey," he replied, his voice softer now, almost vulnerable. "I figured I'd find you here, but I didn't mean to disrupt your day." "Disrupt?" "No," she shook her head lightly. The truth was she felt disrupted, but she also felt drawn to bridge the gap of their past. "It's just a lot to see you again after everything." Mark ran a hand through his hair, an old habit that sent a flutter through her heart. "I understand. I've thought about reaching out, but I was afraid my timing would always be bad or that I'd just mess things up for you." She met his gaze firmly, feeling the weight of their history press against her chest. "Things are complicated. I have Emma to think about." "I know," his eyes darkened with understanding. "But I miss you, Sarah. And I want to know if there's any chance we could find a way to connect again." Her heart raced. The sincerity in his voice was undeniable, but what did that connection look like now? Could she allow herself to hope for something more than a friendly conversation? Was it fair to Emma, their little world? Mark, she hesitated, searching for the right words that wouldn't shatter anything. "I've been building a life for us. A new life. And I see that," he responded quickly. "And I respect that. I'd never want to disrupt what you've created. But I think about us, still. I do." The truth in his words tugged at her soul. It brought old dreams into sharp focus, the late-night talks and future plans they had spun together. But could those dreams be refashioned for today? "What do you want?" Sarah asked, her voice more demanding than she intended. "What does that dream look like now?" Mark opened his mouth, pausing as if the weight of the answer bore down on him. "I want to see what we could become as adults. As parents. I want to rebuild this bridge we once had." Her heart thudded painfully. Wasn't that what she wanted too? In a way, wasn't that the very essence of second chances? Yet fears of heartbreak and disappointment hung heavy in her mind. Before she could respond, Emma bounded back to them, hands still sticky with frosting, eyes sparkling. "Look, Mom. I made a cupcake just for you." Sarah smiled at her daughter, reminded of the joy that still came so purely at her tender age. But could she truly allow herself to explore this possibility with Mark, or would it threaten the happiness she deconstructed? Wow, that looks amazing, sweetheart. Mark smiled, genuine and warm. The barrier was cracking, the path towards connection beckoning her forth. Yet the question lingered, could she, for once, allow herself to take the risk? As laughter erupted around them, she felt the tug of past dreams wrestling against the very real present. Sarah, Mark said softly, the imploring in his voice tinged with hope, let us talk again soon. The spark of something new danced in her chest, and yet uncertainty loomed like a cloud. What choices lie ahead, and would those choices lead to joy or heartbreak? With doubt still nestled away, she gave a small nod, her heart echoing with the complexity of possibilities. But as she turned to walk back to Emma, she realized that stepping into that uncertainty might just be the beginning of something beautiful. What could this new chapter hold, and would she dare to turn the page? As Sarah walked back to Emma, her heart was a mix of fluttering butterflies and the heavy weight of uncertainty. She knelt down, enveloping her daughter in a hug. You made me a cupcake, huh? She said, her voice light but tinged with lingering questions. Yeah. It's got pink frosting. Just like my dress. Emma exclaimed, her face illuminated with excitement. And I saved the best part for you. Sarah chuckled, forgetting her worries for a moment as she took the colorful treat in her hand. I can't wait to taste it. While Emma prattled on about her adventures at the party, Sarah's thoughts wandered back to Mark. She could still hear his words, the sincerity, the yearning. What did it mean? Jake approached them, a gentle smile on his face. How did it go? He asked, scanning Sarah's expression for clues. It was interesting, she replied slowly, eyeing Mark across the lawn. He stood with another parent, keeping a respectful distance but glancing their way. Interesting, huh? Jake raised an eyebrow but didn't push further. Let us just enjoy the cupcakes for now, she said, taking a big bite of the confection. Sweetness burst across her tongue, a distraction from the swirl of emotions. Emma watched her eagerly, waiting for her reaction. Yum! It's so good! Sarah exclaimed, and Emma's giggle rang out, filling her with warmth. But with every passing laugh, she felt a tug at her heart, mixed with doubt. Hey, I'll be right back, she told Jake and Emma, a sudden decision crystallizing in her mind. She walked toward Mark, determined yet shaky, the scent of frosting still clinging to her. Can we talk? Sarah asked, surprising even herself with her own boldness. He nodded, his expression shifting to something more serious. Sure. How about over there? He gestured toward a quieter corner of the park, where the laughter faded into the background. They stepped away from the noise, the bright colors of the party dimming just enough for her to focus. I know our last conversation was heavy, he started, his hands fumbling with nervous energy. But I want you to know I'm not here to complicate things. I just want a chance to show you how much I've changed. Sarah felt a pang of vulnerability in his voice. She had spent years crafting a life for Emma, balancing happiness and stability. I need to know what you mean by that. What has really changed, Mark? He looked pained at her question, running a hand through his hair again, an old habit that tugged at her heartstrings. I've realized I took a lot for granted. Losing us made me look at my life differently. I want to be there for Emma, for both of you. I get it now. There was a sincerity in his gaze that made her chest tighten with apprehension and longing. I'm scared, Mark, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I worked so hard to build a new life, and I can't risk it falling apart again. I understand. He stepped closer, his expression open and earnest. But if you let me in, I promise to do everything I can to earn your trust back. We could be a family again. Sarah's mind raced. Family. The word echoed in her heart like a long-lost song. Could they be a family again? What would that even look like? Just then, they were interrupted by Emma's cheerful shout. Mom! Want to see who can spin the fastest in the jump rope contest? Her daughter's innocent energy pulled Sarah back to the moment, but the question still hung heavy in the air. Mark glanced at Emma, his eyes softening. She's amazing, he said, his voice warm. You've done a great job with her. Torn between the possibilities of the past and the beauty of her present, Sarah felt a swell of emotions crash inside her like waves against the shore. Can I think about it? She asked finally, the words slipping out before she could turn back. It was both a release and a tether, a way to hang on to her dreams while keeping her heart guarded. Of course, he replied, a faint smile breaking through the tension. I'll wait. Just know I'm here, ready when you are. With that, Sarah returned to the joy of the party, Emma's laughter filling her ears. But the echo of Mark's words lingered, wrapping around her heart like a ribbon holding a gift, the promise of possibility. As the festivities drew on and excitement crackled in the air, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, could she truly open the door to the past, or would stepping forward mean losing the safety of what she had built? The day was still young, and as the sun dipped lower in the sky, another chapter was waiting to unfold. What choices lay ahead, and could she embrace a future where hope danced just beyond her reach? The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the park, making everything feel softer, more inviting. Sarah returned to Emma, her mind still swirling with thoughts of Mark and the life they once dreamed of sharing. She knelt down, her heart brimming with a mixture of joy and anxiety. Mom! Come on! You have to try jumping rope. Emma bounced on her toes, pulling at Sarah's hand with a sunny smile. Okay. Sarah chuckled, letting her daughter lead the way. For a moment, she tried to shake off the heaviness of her conversation with Mark, focusing instead on the laughter and energy radiating from the kids. As they joined the other parents and children gathered around the jump rope, Sarah couldn't help but smile at Emma's pure joy. Emma swung the rope, her laughter ringing out as she challenged one of her friends. Look how fast she is. Jake joined them, clapping and cheering for Emma. Sarah took a deep breath, grateful for Jake's steady presence. He was always supportive, making her feel grounded in moments like this. You're amazing, Emma! Sarah shouted, urging her daughter to go even faster. The little girl giggled, throwing her head back, her joy infectious. Yet, amid the laughter, her thoughts kept drifting back to Mark. She was caught between two worlds, the comfort of her life as it was and the stirrings of hope he ignited. Was there a path that allowed both? Just then, a whistle blew, signaling the end of the jump rope contest. Parents started gathering their things as the last rays of sunlight dipped beneath the trees. Sarah felt a twinge of disappointment, the day was tapering off too quickly. Want to have a picnic, Emma? She suggested, hoping to extend their time together a little longer. Yay! Can we have soda too? Emma's eyes sparkled. Sure, but just one. Sarah laughed, ruffling Emma's hair affectionately. As they spread out the picnic blanket on the grass, Sarah felt a tugging in her heart. This was her life now, simple, sweet, filled with love. Yet Mark's words whispered at the edges of her mind, and she couldn't fully shake him off. Suddenly, the day's events caught up with her, and she needed a moment to breathe. She stepped away from the blanket, seeking a quiet spot beneath a nearby tree. Taking a deep breath, she leaned against the rough bark, letting her thoughts settle. Hey, you good? Jake's voice broke through her contemplation, the softness of it grounding. Yeah, just trying to clear my head, she replied with a shaky smile, but Jake stepped closer, concern etched across his face. You've got a lot on your plate. It's okay to feel overwhelmed, he said softly, his eyes searching hers. You know I'm here if you want to talk about it. Sarah appreciated Jake's concern, but a part of her hesitated. I feel torn. Between wanting to protect what I've built and the chance for something more. Something complicated. People change, Sarah, he said gently. Sometimes it's okay to let them back in. Just keep your heart safe. His words sank in, but she still struggled. What if it doesn't work? What if I mess everything up? Jake stepped closer, offering a comforting presence. That's the risk, but life isn't about playing it safe all the time. Think about what you really want. Her heart raced at the weight of his words. What did she want? A glimpse of clarity sparked. She wanted to breathe. She wanted to take a step forward, but the path was shrouded in uncertainty. As she turned to face the picnic blanket, Emma was busy setting up snacks with her friends. That sweet chaos filled her with warmth. But the moment was interrupted by the sight of Mark walking toward them, his gaze fixed firmly ahead. All the thoughts she'd pushed aside flooded back in an instant. What was he doing here? Sarah, can we talk again? Mark called gently, his face unreadable. Her heart thumped wildly. Would she open up to a new possibility, or was the door to her heart still firmly shut? Sarah's breath caught in her throat, and she felt every pair of eyes, including Jake's, on her as time seemed to stand still. What choice would she make in that moment? Time slowed as Sarah stood rooted to the spot. Mark's voice was a lifeline, yet it felt heavy, pulling her back to memories that were supposed to be long buried. She glanced at Emma, her daughter blissfully unaware of the storm brewing, her little hands busy arranging juice boxes with her friends. Sarah? Mark took a tentative step forward, his expression neither hopeful nor desperate, just resolved. Can we talk here? She asked, the weight of the eyes around them suddenly on her shoulders. The laughter, the games, all of it felt overshadowed by this moment. Mark nodded, crossing the short distance that felt like miles. I didn't mean to interrupt your day. It's okay, she interrupted, trying to keep her voice steady. What do you want to talk about? He hesitated, glancing at Emma, who was busy joyfully chatting. I wanted to explain why I left. Things got really complicated for me, and you deserve to know the truth. Sarah's heart clenched painfully. She felt herself wanting to cry but forced it back. It's been years. What's there to explain now? She tried to sound stronger than she felt. Mark took a deep breath. I thought I could run away from my responsibilities. I didn't want to burden you with my struggles. I was wrong for leaving, for everything. The sincerity in his voice pierced through her defenses. Part of her wanted to keep her walls high, to protect the life she had built, while another side yearned to reach out, to connect, to understand. It was like standing at the edge of a precipice, with a dizzying drop below. You think you can just come back and expect everything to be the same? She said, her voice trembling with emotions she tried to contain. It's not that simple. No, it isn't, he admitted, nodding slowly. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I want to be there for Emma. I want to be part of your lives if you'll let me. The words hung in the air. Emma looked up just then, the question clear in her eyes. Mom? Who's that? Mark's gaze softened as he caught sight of Emma. It was like a flicker of hope. Hey, Emma, he said, trying to mask the nervousness in his voice. Do you know my mom? She asked innocently, taking a step closer. Yes, I've known her for a long time. And I'd like to get to know you too, Mark replied warmly. Sarah felt her heart break and mend all at once. This was what she feared and hoped for, wrapped into one moment. But the memories of abandonment still loomed large in her mind. Being a dad isn't just about showing up, Mark. It's about being there every day. Can you do that? I want to try. I want to do better this time, he replied earnestly. As Sarah processed his words, she noticed Jake in the background, arms crossed, watching intently. His expression was hard to read, but she felt the tension in his gaze. Would he think she was about to make a huge mistake? But all her focus snapped back to Mark and Emma, the vibrant life pulsing between them. Her heart raced, longing and fear danced in her chest. "Just give me time, please," Mark continued, his voice low and earnest. "I know I've hurt you, but I'm ready to make it right." The weight of what had been said felt enormous. Sarah opened her mouth to respond, uncertainty swirling inside her. "It was a choice that could change everything, Mom. Can we go play? Please?" Emma pulled at her arm, cutting through the intensity of the moment. As she looked down at her daughter's hopeful face, Sarah felt the entire world shifting around her. What was she supposed to say? Would she choose to embrace where their small family could go, or retreat back into the safety she had constructed? That question lingered, heavy in the air, as Sarah's heart thundered with possibilities. What step should she take next? As Sarah gazed into Emma's bright eyes, she felt the world tilt once again. The innocence radiating from her daughter, full of hope and excitement for the future, stirred something deep within her. It was a reminder of what really mattered: Emma's happiness, their bond, and the possibility of love, allowing a tiny flame of courage to flicker in her heart. "Emma, sweetie," she said quietly, pausing to gather her thoughts. "Can you give me just a moment with Mark?" Her daughter nodded, glancing between them with a hint of confusion but trusting her mother implicitly. Sarah took a step closer to Mark, the weight of an unthinkable decision hanging heavily in the air. I don't know if I can trust you right away, Mark." "It's going to take time," she admitted, her voice shaking slightly. "I understand," he replied, his sincerity palpable. "I want you to take all the time you need. I know I haven't been around, but I'm ready to show you that I can be a better father to Emma and a better partner to you." The firmness in his voice held truth. Could he genuinely mean it? The tides of her past crashed against the rocky shore of her present, but Sarah could see the beginnings of something that could blossom. Fear wrestled with the tiniest spark of hope in her heart. "I need to know what you can offer," she said firmly, searching his eyes for honesty. "Emma is the most important thing in my life. If you want to be part of ours, you have to be all in." "I will be," Mark insisted, his gaze unwavering. "I'll show you I'll be there for you both, I promise. I want to earn your trust back." Just then, Emma reappeared, her cherubic face now suspiciously smeared with frosting from a cupcake battle with her friends. "Mom! They're having a jump rope competition. Can you jump with me? Please?" The innocence of her daughter's laughter broke the heavy atmosphere, and Sarah couldn't help but smile. Emma was beaming, wrapped in the pure joy of childhood. "We'll both play, right?" Mark said, crouching down to Emma's eye level. "And I promise I won't let you down this time." "Really?" Emma's eyes lit up like stars. "You gonna jump rope with us?" "That sounds awesome." Sarah studied Mark's face. There was love in his gaze, but could it withstand the test of time? Would he really be there for Emma when it counted? She felt the corners of her heart tugging in all directions, but one thing was clear: Emma deserved to have a father who cared. Maybe it was worth exploring, worth taking the risk. "Okay," Sarah said finally, her voice steadier now. "Let us give this a chance. But I need to see that you mean what you say." Mark nodded, relief washing over his features. "Thank you, Sarah. I won't let you down. I promise." Then, with a grin that spread wide, Sarah turned back to Emma, filling her with excitement. "You ready to jump some rope, champ?" "Yeah." Emma cheered, tugging at both their hands. Together, they headed back to the jumble of laughter and cheers. With each step, Sarah felt a mixture of anxiety and hope fueling her. The future was uncertain, but perhaps embracing this new chapter with both her daughter and Mark was worth exploring. As they reached the jump rope area, the energy lifted, and soon they were all laughing as they joined in. Sarah could feel the small shifts in her heart. She was moving forward. For the first time in a long while, she felt more than just fear, she felt a rush of sweetness too, like the smell of sugar and frosting in the air. She was surrounded by her children, her dear community, and another chance ahead. In the throes of laughter and playful competition, Sarah realized that life was messy, beautiful, and full of surprises. She could take a step forward, letting the past linger softly behind her. With a new jumping rope in hand, Emma was at the center of it all, drawing Sarah and Mark into the vibrant laughter that filled the park like sunlight. And as they all jumped together, for the first time in what felt like forever, Sarah allowed herself to feel the warmth of pure possibility. And then she whispered a quiet thank you to the winds of change. In the heart of chaos, their family was starting to mend, weaving together threads of laughter, love, and hope. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a colorful hue across the sky, Sarah realized she didn't have to face this alone. Perhaps that was the most beautiful part, moments of togetherness that promised a brighter tomorrow. Now, it was time to embrace that tomorrow. And you know what? If you enjoyed this heartwarming journey, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will touch your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these incredible stories alive. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. How would you have handled Sarah's situation? And for the love of cupcakes, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to support the channel. Only true fans understand just how important these actions are.